We respectfully request the Sangha great virtues for the sake of this assembly and all living beings. Please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach and guide us how to end birth and death, leave suffering and attain bliss, and quickly realize non-birth. Cung thính đại đức tặng thịnh, vì thứ pháp hội cấp nhất thiết chúng sanh, thịnh chuyên diệu pháp luân giao đạo ngã môn, như há liêu sanh thoát tư ly khổ đạc lạc, thức chứng vô sanh. Homage to the Blessed, Noble, and Perfectly Enlightened One. Namo Sadanto Suchedo Ye Alahudi Samyao Sanputo Se. Namo Tát Đắc Tha Tô Già Đà Già La Ha Đế Tam Hiệu Tam Bồ Đà Toa. The unsurpassed, profound, subtle, and wonderful Dharma in 100,000 million aeons is difficult to encounter. Now that I'm able to see and hear, I will receive and maintain it. I vow to fathom the thus come one's true and actual principles. Tu shang sheng sheng wei miao fa bai qian wan jie nan zao yu. 我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。O Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Great Master, Sixth Patriarch, Great Master Shenhua, all good monks and nuns, and all good new advisors, Amitabha. Hello everyone, today is the 2nd of December 2023. We're here at Wei Mountain Temple to discuss the Sixth Patriarch Sutra. This is chapter 6, the very last chapter. We will discuss and then we move on to the next sutra. Thank you all for coming. We are on slide 892. As a reminder, on weekends, we lecture in sutras to help you plant vajra seeds of wisdom, great wisdom. And so let me remind you where we are. We were talking about the Sixth Patriarch were teaching us about making the 4 great vows, vowing to save living beings, vowing to end all afflictions, vowing to study all Dharma doors, and finally vowing to become a Buddha. So this is the 4th vow. Okay, the 4th vow, the vow of realizing the Buddha's way. And so for that, he says, constantly be humble and practice the true and the proper. Separate yourself from confusion and enlightenment, and always give rise to prajna. Okay? And so, in order to do that, he's actually very detailed. He says, the key for you to realize the unsurpassed Buddha way is to constantly be humble. Okay? And practice the true and the proper. When you, next, this is what we are right now. When you cast out the true and the false, you see your Buddha nature, realize the Buddha way, at the very moment it is spoken of. Always be mindful of and cultivate this vow power Dharma.
言下佛道成，常念修行是愿力法。
Okay, I think we lost a little bit of the first part in Chinese.
你就除真除妄，即见佛性，即言下佛道成。
我先做好我的心。
Sorry.
Okay, thank you. And so he says, you need to cast out the true and the false. When we practice, first of all, you're taught to practice to get rid of the false. What is the false? What false are we talking about? You don't remember? After all these years, all this time of cultivation, the last week of Chanchi, you don't know what the false is? What is the false? Yes, too.
Thank you, Master. I think the false is any kind of thinking, using your mind to think.
Why is false any kind of thinking? Yes, in the back. 7.
Thank you, Master. The fault is everything that has marks.
Everything that has marks. Okay, what it has to do with thinking? No thinking?
If we think, we put the marks on everything. So if we think about something, I think that's the false thing.
All right, anyone else? In Chan, we talk about these concepts. It's commonly taught, especially Master Shenhua. When I first started with him, he taught about the false, and it bothered me for years. What is the false? What's that? Is that rebirth? Oh, okay. Seriously? Name is off, isn't it? Okay. Anyone? What is a false? Answer from JC.
내가 있다는 생각입니다. 자아가 있다는 생각입니다.
The thought that I am exist.
The thought that exists are false. How do thoughts exist? Continue. This is fundamental to Chan training. Yes, 7.
Master, any thought that's false is not true.
The thought that's false, that's not true. Of course, if it is not false, that is not true. Anything that's false, that's not true. Anything that's not false, then is true. Anyone? Okay, the false here is correct. The false here refers to false thoughts. Okay, so when you receive training in a Chan, when you come to our world, into our world, I don't know what you've been taught, but ultimately it boils down to your avoiding the false thoughts, okay? Avoiding creating false thoughts. All right? And everything we teach you is in order to help you stop your false thinking. All right? What is false thinking? False thinking in a Chan world, as far as the sixth patriarch is concerned as well, any false thought, false thinking is anything that you think. Any thought that you have. What thoughts? Every thought that you have. Thoughts of desires, thoughts of greed, thoughts of anger, thoughts of stupidity, all sorts of thoughts. Okay? They're all false. Okay? So in a Chan training, which is in a Buddhist training, whether you practice secret school or Pure Land or whatever, ultimately you have to face the fact that when you meditate, when you recite something, okay, these thoughts arise, and those thoughts are called false thoughts. With any thoughts that's different, that's apart from your object of contemplation of your Dharma door, of your practice, is called a false thought. So far, so good. No two ways about it. This is absolute definition. Anything that you think of, okay, that is a false thought, including right now. Why is it called as a false thought? It's called a false thought because the thought you create, the thoughts that arise, originate from where? You don't know? Where do they come from? Yes, A.
Thank you, Master. Attachments?
Attachments, okay? Thoughts are like you have a screen here, a blank screen, a blank mirror, okay? A blank screen. And all of a sudden, something appears. That is a thought, okay? That appears in the vast blankness of your mind. All of a sudden, something pops up. That is called a false thought. Okay? If you are reciting a Buddha's name, you recite a mantra, your mind should be thinking about the Buddha's name or the mantra, and yet another thought besides the thought you're supposed to focus on, to concentrate on, is called a false thought. So far, so good. Okay? And that thought arises because of your attachment. So far, so good. You will not have any thoughts unless you have attachments. For example, you're bored. Anyone? All day sitting there and doing nothing? Huh? How boring. Yes? That thought of boredom there is because you're attached to non-boredom. You reject boredom. Is that clear? You can blame the temple, you can blame us, you can blame your neighbors and so forth. Okay? If you sit there and your neighbor snores, Did it happen this morning, today? Not yet? Anyone meditated at all today? No? It used to be the case at Lu Mountain Temple, when we first started, we have all sorts of people, crazy people who came, okay? Because they have nowhere else to go. And they come, and invariably, very often in the early days of the Chanchis, there are a lot of people who made a lot of noises, okay? They scream, they cry, and they snore, and so forth, okay? And it used to bother the heck of our practitioners. They complain bitterly about it, okay? And they don't realize it's a test. It's a training for them. Those thoughts of affliction arose because of their attachments. Don't blame them. Don't blame the people who snore, who cry or scream. This is being themselves, okay? It's you who choose to be afflicted because of your attachment. The thoughts of boredom, the thoughts of affliction arises because of your attachment. So far, so good? Okay? And so, stop blaming others for the boredom or for the snoring or for making you afflicted. It's you who choose to be afflicted. It's you. So your affliction is actually the end result of your attachment. So instead, if you have wisdom, instead of being afflicted, you should be happy that someone is pointing out your attachment. Because when you come home, your boyfriend only praises you. He says, you are so wonderful. Let's get married. And after they get married, then they tell you about your attachments. Before, it's fine, it's beautiful, everything is wonderful. You are such a beautiful person. After you get married, that's when we men like to tell you about your flaws. Because we hope that you become better people. That's why. Now you know. Same rationale. You come to the temple and people may get you afflicted, you bored, because your afflictions there they arise in the form of a thought. I'm bored. I'm angry. How could you snore when I'm working hard? Okay? That is actually, they're doing you a favor. They're pointing out your attachments. If you were by yourself, you wouldn't be able to see your attachments. That's what happens to fourth stage arhats. They cultivate in the mountains, in the valleys, they isolate themselves from people, and therefore there's no affliction at all. They don't get afflicted by people. Let's face it, we afflicted because of others, no? Our spouses, our children, our bosses, our mothers, our fiancés, yes? Nazis, Putin, and so forth. Okay? And so our biggest source of afflictions is others, like it or not. So the arhats, the Hinayana people, they know that. That's why they isolate themselves. They sever contact with the world, with people in particular, dogs, cats, everything. They sever. They say, I want to get away from you, run away from you. And that's how they experience no more affliction. That's how they reach fourth stage arhats. Okay? But after they reach fourth stage arhat, they come back. to civilization because they have to save their mother. They have to save their ex-wives. The children, maybe. Okay? They come back to civilization. Now, the people afflict them so much, they say, this is too much. The world is crazy. I don't need to put up with it. So they run away back to the mountain and the forest because it's not worth it. These people are not worth it. Yes, Evan.
Master, I think that we have afflictions because we've made up our mind that something is disturbing us, and we're taking offense at that grows into an affliction. Is that true?
Yeah. But remember, you choose to be afflicted. You don't have to be afflicted.
Absolutely.
The dog barks. You don't need to get afflicted because the dog barks at you. It barks at everyone, not just you. But you choose to be afflicted. Is that clear? Your wife complains. Well, never mind. Let's not go into that. Yes, what?
Thank you, Master. I'm curious. So a 4-stage arhat that trains in the forest versus a 4-stage arhat that's trained, let's say, in the city.
Yes.
And they reach that level. Is there a difference now how they react in the world, even though they're both at the same level of consciousness?
There's a clear difference. One is that the one who trains in a forest, in the valley, isolated from the world, they become so detached from the world, okay, that what happens is they tend to refuse to go back to the world. As soon as you go back to the world, said, oh my God, I'm glad I divorced you. And they walk away. They say, it's not worth it. Not my children, not my mother, not my father. They're all not real anyway. They detached from everything already. So that's why they have no more reason to go back and confront their own afflictions. Okay? So what they did for the Hinayana practitioner is that they're able to let go of the attachments, okay? But they haven't gotten rid of the sources of the attachments. It's like you choose not to drink, but the alcohol is still there in the cupboards. And you're afraid to go there. You don't want to touch it. So you actually are living in fear. A very subtle fear where I don't want to go there because it's not good for me. And that they call it wisdom. We call it small wisdom. Because yes, you know that you can get in trouble when you get there, okay? When you engage. That's small wisdom, okay? But you live in fear. That's the difference. In Mahayana, we teach you to practice giving and the giving of fearlessness for that very reason. Because eventually, when you get to high levels, you cannot live in fear anymore. The arhats are scared of us. They're scared that they'll be afflicted by us. It's very subtle fear that they are not aware of. Because basically they're saying, I'm so blissful, I'm so happy. Why do I need to allow you to afflict me anymore? I can choose not to get afflicted. Okay? Well, that choice right there is predicated upon the subtle fear of being afflicted. The Chinese, the Buddhists like to call it the attachment of Dharma and so forth. I'm telling you, if you don't believe in Buddhism, or you don't believe in all the big terms, I tell you that the one thing right there, the bottom line is that deep down their heart, they're afraid to lose their bliss. They're afraid to suffer. Because in order to help others, there's only one way. We have to suffer. There's no other way. You want to help someone, you have to suffer. Think about it. You want to help your daughter, you suffer. No? That's how stupid you are. You keep on saying, I want to help my daughter, I want to help my daughter. The suffering goes on and on and on and on. Because you want to help people, you have to take on their suffering. You want to alleviate people's suffering, you have to shoulder their suffering. Someone has to suffer. If not your daughter, it's going to be you. So the arhats, that's a problem they have. Arhat is that they realize that after all the time before they became arhat, they suffered so much. They entered the state where they said, wow, I am so free of suffering. Okay? And they said, wow, this is wonderful. So what they do is that free suffering there, it still has not resolved this very deeply seated fear of suffering. Haven't resolved that yet. It's so beautiful. The Buddha's wisdom. He sees that. He says, you know what? If you want to become enlightened like me, like the Bodhisattvas, you have to practice the giving of fearlessness. Because you should not be afraid of fear. When you help other people with their fearlessness, you have to suffer their fears. It is incredible, it's ingenious. Without that, you won't make it. The arhats never were prepared for this state where they are so free from suffering, but they haven't resolved that innate, that very deep fear of suffering, would propel them to cultivate in the first place. So the question is, what happened to the people who practice Hinayana style, where you isolate from the world and they get there and they experience the emptiness of the self, versus the people who in Mahayana style, like we do, where we practice in the world and we experience a state of emptiness, okay? The difference is that we are prepared. We experience the same state of emptiness as they do. Okay? Same level. But we don't have this gripping fear of suffering like they do. It's a huge difference, folks. And therein lies the purpose of all this Chan practice. Chan practice is that you're trying to save yourself or you're trying to save others. Okay? So the purpose is different. It's a much bigger goal, much more commendable goal. And the process is entirely different because what in Mahayana Chan style or in the Master Huinen's teaching or style of trading is that in Mahayana, because we have many more ways to help you get to the state of fourth stage Rahat much faster, much quicker than the Hinayana style. Because we know that that is only one small result. We're in a hurry to push you to go much higher, for you to experience much higher levels of bliss. Life becomes more fun and more fun. It's like the fourth stage Rahat. It's the first time that you try alcohol. I don't know. I don't remember anymore. Okay, you try alcohol. You say, wow, this is so cool. I feel so good. No. Okay, and after that, the fourth stage Rahat is like they keep on drinking the same alcohol. Okay, the same whatever, beer, whatever, okay, or soju, okay, and for Mahayana, okay, we experience alcohol, but then we tell ourselves there must be other things that's also equally good, okay. So we tried vodka, we tried champagne, you see. Because we're not afraid. So the false there, when we talk about the false in Chan, the false refers to false thoughts. The false thoughts arise because of your attachments, and your attachments are the engine that makes your mind produce thoughts. Your false mind, your thinking mind, is called a false mind. So because your attachment, your mind thinks, and therefore it produces thoughts which are called false thoughts. Why it's called the false right here. Does it help? Yes, 3.
Thank you, Master. I'm not sure if this is related to false thinking or not, but I want to share my very story. Last few days ago, I and my husband kind of argument with like a financial problem. So I don't want to always say in my mind, I don't want to afflict my husband whatever he say to me. So but I afflict so much, so I can't sleep. I trying to sleep because of I have to work the next day, but I just wake up. But 4 o'clock, I make a decision. Oh, I better recite the Great Compassion Mantra. So I did recite the Great Compassion Mantra 21 times, and then I make a decision. I better request my salary raising to my boss. Mm-hmm. So I just come to the company, and then I request some meeting to my boss, and then I explain my the salary about the raising. Mm-hmm. But fortunately, he really pleased to raise my salary.
Wow.
Yeah. So that kind of my trying the Great Compassion Mantra 21 times and then I make a decision to request the salary is my first thinking.
What do you think?
But at least I don't have any attachment about money, worry.
Yeah, okay. So is that false thinking? Definitely is false thinking. Okay. but it helps. We cannot get rid of all the false thinking right away. Okay, it's a matter of when you practice, you have to choose which false thinking you need to get rid of. Okay, and so it's about choosing properly. Yes, go first.
Master, I have a question about the casting the truth. Does that refer to not being attached to the Dharma?
Okay, here's what happens. Here's what happens. So you have attachments. Okay, that's why your thinking mind, your false mind, thinks, produces thoughts. Okay, so therefore you cast out the false, meaning you stop thinking. In order to stop thinking, what do you need to do? Chop the attachments. As long as you have attachments, you will think. You will do thoughts. No two ways about it. Is that clear? So to cast out the false, meaning you have to do what? Throw away attachments. It was never explained to me this clearly. They only said in their training, the other side is cast out the false, cast your false thinking for false thinking and so forth. Okay, and it's very Chinese, very Asian. We talk. We are not confrontational or as clear as in English. We only talk on the side, obliquely. You know what I mean, that kind of thing. Okay, here in the U.S. we have to be clear. So it bothered the heck out of me. Okay, for years, for several years, the concept of false thoughts really bothered me. And so we practice blindly, and that the Chinese style. You need to believe and follow instructions that you get there. But this is why they're losing the young people, the young Asians who are now following the Western style of education. They struggle with that. They say, this is illogical. It doesn't make sense. Why would I, as smart people, would listen to you, someone who's uneducated, who has no accomplishments, or totally uncultured? Why should I listen to you? Big problem with young people. This is young people, they don't come anymore because they say, hey, what you're asking me to do, it doesn't make sense to me. It's never explained to them. So, yes, the process, the methodology that Master Hsuan brought to our country is fantastic. It really works. But it only works if you are willing to endure, to undergo the training. But if it doesn't make sense to you, why would you be willing to do it? So that's inherently is a weakness of the Chinese style of training, because it's illogical. And educated people demand logic. They will not be willing to make a fool of themselves. Especially we are unimpressive. We are beggars, we're poor, and so forth. We're losers, we're parasites of society and so forth. All the names you can think of, we are. Okay. So anyway, so the false is that you have to cast out the false, meaning that ultimately to cast out the false, you have to drop your attachments. Cast out the false thoughts. False thoughts are caused by, false thoughts are the effects, are the consequences of your attachments. Is that clear? That's all there is to it. But no, the Asian will not explain it to you because they're Asians. So far, so good. So to cast out the false means you have to recognize your attachments and drop them. That's what it means. If you drop your attachment to the, let's say, someone sitting next to you and crying and screaming their lungs off, okay, because they're in pain, okay, your attachment is that, hey, you have the right to cultivate, to practice, to meditate without being disrupted. That's the attachment. Yes or no? We were very brutal. Other places, they would go and say, hey, you, who's crying, who's screaming, who's snoring, get out. What are we doing to your attachments? Nothing. It's still there. But when we force you to sit there and go this and sitting in sauna and cursing the master and say, this master is something else. What is he doing? You know? And at least that if you can overcome that, your attachment to noise, to the right, to cultivate, to practice quietly, that attachment will be resolved. So that's why this process of Chan is that eventually you understand, you get better and better at this. You understand, you have a thought, you say, whoop, I'm thinking about this. What is the root source of my thoughts? Which attachment is that? That's what he's talking about. The false is that what attachment caused this false thought to arise? That's your job, that you must do yourself. I cannot do it for you. I can, but I won't. If I do it for you, then you'll always be attached to me. You always have to slave for me, which may not be a bad thing. Yes, JC.
네, 질문 드리겠습니다. 관련돼서 질문인데 제가 이제 사무실에서 이제 업무를 할 때 가끔 제 그 선배들이 뭐 항상 그러는 건 아니지만 이제 뭐 이제 화가 나서 그러면 뭐 욕설을 하실 때가 있습니다. 뭐 한국 용어로는 뭐 X발, 뭐 영어로는 what the fuck 뭐 이런 식이 되겠죠. 뭐 그러고서 what the assholes 막 이런 것들을 말하는 선배들이 왕왕 있습니다. 요까지 말씀드리겠습니다.
Sure. Okay. Sometimes I work at my office. Then sometimes people got angry and they curse. They do some bad word to me.
Oh, how terrible!
그러니까 뭐 저한테 하는 건 아니고 이제 그 일을 시킨 사람이나 그러니까 외부 탓을 하는 거죠. 왜 이런 업무를 주느냐, 아니면 뭐 회사가 왜 이런 판국으로 돌아가느냐, 막 이런 말들을 하시는데. 제가 좀 심해지면 좀 듣기가 불편해서 속으로 이제 관세음보살 연부를 하거나 혹은 대비주를 하거나 혹은 42수한 중에 그 15번 그 쉴드를 할 때가 있습니다.
So they blame others, they blame the company or other people, and when we become serious, then I felt uncomfortable. So I recite Great Compassion Mantra, or I recite Buddha's name, or I recite number 15.
혹은 제가 그 옆에 부장님 같은 경우에는 그 불자의 집안이기 때문에 염주를 주면서 좀 마음을 좀 가라앉히시죠 이렇게 얘기하실 때가 있으면 또 이렇게 잘 받아들이십니다.
And one of my senior is a Buddhist, so sometimes I give the beads to him and then please calm your mind.
이게 어떻게 보면 이런 방편들인데 지금 마스터님 법문을 듣고 그런 이제 뭐 연불이나 대위주라는 방편을 하기 전에 그냥 아무것도 하지 말고 그냥 그 무작행으로 그냥 있어야 되는 건 아닐지 그런 그 이제 직감이 들었는데 이런 방편들을 하는 것도 이제 어떻게 보면 집착을 떼는 하나의 그 수행이 될 수 있을지 아니면 그거조차도 그냥 하지 않고 그냥 아무것도 하지 않고 있는 게 맞을지 여쭙고 싶습니다.
So I use this expedient to get rid of my attachment. But my question is that should I use this? Can I use this expedient, or should I do nothing?
You can, and that would help you temporarily, okay? Until one day you will be so strong that you don't need to use it anymore. So it's a natural progression. All I'm doing here for you is share with you my experience. It bothered me for over 10 years, the concept of false, because I could not ask anyone what it meant. And since I would not quit, all I have was to follow the instruction and kept on doing it. And doing it until one day, like what I use mantras, I use this, I use that, until one day, okay, it happened. I discovered this concept. All it means is that instead of doing that, one day you consider dropping the attachments, which is a lot faster than reciting mantras. Okay? All right. Anyway, share with you that gift for you, free of charge. This is worth a lot of money, trust me. If I were to counsel you, I would charge a lot of money. Okay? But since the 6 patriarch explained it for free, I will explain it for free for you as well. Okay? So the false. So the false is that just remember this, and one day it will be clear to you. For now, do whatever you need to do to not get afflicted. That helps. And eventually, as you continue, one day you wake up to the fact that, I need to drop my attachment to cast out the false, because that's what the great teacher said. And one day it will click in your head. Okay? So far, so good? It will happen to all of you. Eventually. Naturally. But with us, it will be faster because I afflict the heck out of you. If you're not afflicted enough, I will afflict you. That's the difference. Okay? The arhats, they run away from you because they're afraid of you. Okay? But here in the temple, we find ways to afflict you so that you have no choice but drop your attachments. So that's what the difference between you and the Sanghans. The Sanghans, they abuse a lot more than you are. Because I know if I overdo it, you run away. You don't come back anymore. They have no choice. They run away, they have nowhere else to go. No one who would be willing to treat them so badly. So far, so good? Okay, that's cast out the false. If you do that, there's an order. If you do cast out the false, don't tell me you're trying to, don't follow here, cast out the true and the false. No, the order, if I were the Master Huineng, I would say, cast out the false and the true. Because you first need to cast out the false. And if you cast out the false, what remains is what? The true. It's beautiful. Because if you say cast out the true and the false, and you say, okay, so whatever is true, I need to throw it out as well. My attachment to the true, I need to throw it out. It doesn't work like that. It is not going to help you. All you have to do right now, okay, follow me. Okay, ignore this a little bit, okay? Follow my advice. All you need to do right now is I want you to cast out the false. Casting out the false means that you no longer think because you got rid of all your attachments. As soon as you think, you react to something, it's based on an attachment. Look at the attachment and decide whether you want to keep it or you want to throw it out. That's all you have to do. If you throw it out, that's called casting the false. If one whole says, I need to recite mantra, or someone says, I need to talk to my boss to get a raise, okay? That's a temporary, it's a Band-Aid. So that the affliction is more manageable. That's acceptable. But don't forget the fact eventually you have to get rid of the affliction. Ultimately. Is that clear? So it's by degrees. As long as you have the attachment, the affliction will be there. And as you do something, it will get a few or less severe, until one day you say, oops, I'm done. It's more manageable for you to drop it. That's what happens to you. When you reach a much higher level, then it's a different story. Okay? When you get there, you know what I'm talking about. You don't, then you have to pay. Because by then, you're enlightened, you'll be so wealthy that you can afford to pay me. Right now, you're poor, so I don't care. Okay, that's my logic. I go for wholesale, I don't go retail. Okay? So, this is a gift for you. Cast out the false. Try your best to reduce your affliction until you can drop your attachment. That's the practical thing you need to do. You cannot say, I will renounce my daughter. That's not possible. I will renounce my son. That's not possible. Okay? It's too deeply ingrained in you. How old is your son? 16? You've been loving him for 16 years. You think you can drop it just like that? It's not that easy. Okay? You have to find who he is. Like you look at how really he doesn't love you at all. Even after 16 years of loving you, loving him, he still doesn't love you at all. As soon as he finds a girlfriend, he says, goodbye, mama. Got that? Or your husband, you love your wife. As soon as she has a baby, she forgets all about you. Yeah. You see, so it's by degrees. You have to reduce your attachment, okay? You become less and less attached until one day you say, okay, I'm done. That's where you are right now. Until you get higher, then it's a different style of resolving your attachment. Yes, 3.
Thank you, Master. I'd like to share a story. My husband tended to have a little bit of a road rage. So every day I
A little bit?
Okay.
Road rages are never a little bit. Let me tell you, speaking from experience.
And he loves to honk at everyone, and it really scares me. So I have to confess, I have an attachment to the safety. And I try to say to myself, this is not real, but it's real when it comes to safety. And he honks at people, and there's one instant where a truck driver actually follow us. And I've been telling him not to honk at people, but it's challenging. So I'm very glad to be here and meditate so that I could reduce affliction towards to him. Thank you, Master.
Still sounds like you still have a long way to go. But good luck to you. It's by degrees. It has to be manageable first before you can let go. Okay? And so it's a gradual, it's called gradual teaching. Okay? You're not quite ready for the sudden teaching yet. When you drop the attachment, that's sudden teaching. You can't, it's still gradual. You have to pave the way for it. Okay? That's our reality. Versus the people who don't know, who don't practice, who are not trained properly, they should get afflicted. Okay? They go and then they never resolved the source of their affliction. Like the arhats. So far, so good? Okay, so you need to cast out the false. Okay, once you cast when you cast out the false, meaning when you free of your attachments, then what remains is your true nature. Your true mind. When your thinking mind no longer operates, that's called casting out the false. Then the true mind reveals itself. Yes, in the back. 7.
Thank you, Master. So, for example, the arhats, they feel so blissful. So that would be casting out the true. They have to cast out that blissfulness so they can get further.
So the concept is that between true and the false is that there is a relationship. You need to look at the false first, your false mind first, before you can get to your true mind. Is that clear? Okay? Once you get rid of the false, then the true mind will reveal itself. And then at that time, you will recognize, that's my true mind. Okay? And that's what happened to the fourth stage Arhat. They said, oh wow, I didn't know that this thing exists. Okay? That's called a true mind because it's no longer false thinking. Therefore, it's a true mind. There's no more false mind. The false mind no longer works. So now what remains is a true mind. So what happens is that you discover something called the true mind. Okay? And it's very easy to attach to it. If you attach to this true mind here, like the Arhats do, then you will not be able to reach the big enlightenment. This is what he's referring to. Once you cast out the false, you still need to cast out the true right there. Okay? For you to go further, to become a Buddha. It's very precise here. I spell out for you the sequence that needs to happen. Don't run back here and say, 6 patriarchs say, I need to cast out the true and the false. And you say, okay, this is true, Master is true, Master is false. I don't know yet to you. Okay? You keep on, casting out the true, you're going to be in big trouble. Does it help? Yes, too.
So, Master, I have a question. So, about casting out false and true thoughts, it sounds like to me it's a part of progress. So, there's so many attachments that we have. As we drop our attachment, are we going to able to see the true thoughts according to those attachments? And then you see more and more and more in the end. And then you see only left is the true thoughts? Or is it like you're always false thought and suddenly at one moment?
Let's not go there. I cannot reveal you everything to you. I will not reveal everything to you. You have to follow the instructions. Then you know what I mean. If I explain more to you, then these people will not cultivate anymore. I know what to do. I'm not telling you everything, okay? I'm not supposed to. I don't want to. I have to monetize it according to Peter. Someday I need to find a way to monetize it, okay? That's the truth. That's my true intention. Okay, here's what happens. Let me explain to you the subtlety of this, okay? After you get rid of the false mind, you're free from your attachments. Okay? Then this something called true mind emerges. And you say, that's it. That's the true mind I've been looking for. That is an attachment to the true mind that he's referring to. That we indoctrinated you right now already. He said, look for a true mind. So in your head, you say, I found a true mind. So inherently there, you have an attachment to the true mind. That's why we have to tell you, when you find your true mind, you want to go further, dump it as well. It is so important. The arhats are not taught that. That's why they hang on to the true mind. What they thought is a true mind was only a small part of it. Is that clear? This is, I'm revealing to you state secrets so that even if our files, our videos, and our computers are ransomed, we won't pay a dime because we don't care, because it's public knowledge. Okay? If you hacked into my computer and stole stuff from me, there's nothing secret at all worth stealing. What is worth the secret is I haven't told you yet. Yes, 4.
네, 마스터, 선칠하면서 계속해서 걷고 앉고 하니까 망상이 많이 올라오는데 계속 하다 보면 이것도 자연적으로 사라지나요?
During chanchi, I sit and I walk and I keep doing it, and then the thought arises in me. But if I keep doing this thing, then the thoughts in the end will disappear.
Yes. Eventually. Naturally. Anyone else? There's a secret recipe. You have to do it. I cannot explain everything to you. Anyone else? After you cast out both the false and the true, okay, and we out of reverence to Master Huineng, we will not change the order, but my personal instruction to you is go for the false first. Okay, and naturally, when you have no more false, even whatever you have, throw it out as well. Then you see your Buddha nature. If you didn't throw out the truth, you cannot see the Buddha nature. When you're at that point, you say, what Master Yung Hua told me is true. You have to throw that out as well. You have to throw me out as well. What Master Yung Hua? Who's Yung Hua? I don't know him. And you become ungrateful. What Yung Hua? Who is he? I'm not attached to him. Why should you? Is that clear? That's very important. That's the truth right there. Master Yung Hua is very true to you up until that moment. Go, I'm so glad, Master Yung Hua, I'm so grateful he taught me all these things. Now I see my true mind. At that point, screw Yung Hua. You have to. That's what he's talking about. Never mind about Master Huineng. Drop him as well. Not just me, okay? Throw him out as well. That's what he's saying. Throw me out, throw Yung Hua out, throw Suen Hua out, throw Buddha out, throw everyone out. There's no more Buddha. Yes, go first.
Master, I would like to clarify some terminology. So there's true mind, and then there's self-nature, those are different, right? True mind is the fourth stage aha level, and the self-nature is the enlightenment level.
It's not the way it is. Okay, just I'm describing to you the sequence. All you have to memorize is that. Okay, don't try to understand. Because at that point in time, one thought arises, I'm so glad Master Xue Hao told me. I'm so glad Master Yung Hao told me and it's verified. This is Wei Yang style. Screw them all. Okay? It's nothing. Then you see your Buddha nature. So after that, you think you'll be afraid to be slandered, to be criticized, to be poor? You won't anymore. That's why that's a promised land for our Sanghas. They'll be poor forever. And they won't be bothered by it. Are you sure you want to do it? Got that? Okay? The Buddha nature, at that point in time, you can drop out, you can drop the false and the true, you will see your Buddha nature. Is that clear? This is very precise instructions. Okay? He would spell it out for us, but the Chinese would not explain it to their own disciples. I'm saving you time. It took me 10 years to figure it out. I'm verbalizing it for you. I'm giving you a recipe so that you do it. You see, you know what I mean. It will save you a ton of time because you go to the forest, you hide away behind the four walls. It's too slow. Okay? You see your Buddha nature. And realize the Buddha way at the very moment it is spoken of. Okay? Now I'm asking you, I'm revealing to you. 言下 is translated as at the moment it's spoken of. What is it talking about? Yes, 7, Colombia.
Thank you, Master. Is that the sudden teaching?
Absolutely. What sudden teaching? What sudden teaching? Go forth. Which sudden teaching are we talking about?
Sorry, I don't know. I was going to comment on...
One.
Yeah.
What sudden teaching are we talking about?
Thank you, Master. My guess would be that's the fixed sudden teaching.
Fixed or unfixed?
Fixed and not secret.
Okay, unfixed. Okay. Yes, yesterday's lecture. Yes, 7.
And sudden teaching that there's nothing in the Buddha nature. No true, no false.
Anyone else? See, it's funny how none of them are Master Xue Hao disciples, none of Chinese disciples asked their teachers, what's Yin Xia? At the moment of speaking, what does it mean? Isn't that amazing? It is. Master Huiling's teaching is so insightful that it's a pleasure for me to go to revisit it for a second time because I'm revealing to you what really is going on that I didn't dare or didn't have the clarity of mind to reveal it for you the first time we explained chapter 6 here. Yes, go first.
Master, I think 言下 means upon hearing the words, there's no thinking or doubt.
That's correct. 100% correct. What happens to all of you right now, as you're listening right now, you're still thinking, aren't you? I don't get it. What does he mean? Is he for real? Or is he trying to scam us? Or is he trying to get money out of us? Okay? Yanxia is that the moment you hear the sudden teaching that is bestowed upon you, you just believe. And that's it. That's why in the China world, there's an anecdote where there is a woman, a big Dharma protector of a Chan master, who gave him everything, gave him a temple, gave him all the money every month for him to pay for his expenses, and so forth. And she's number one by far in terms of importance to him. And one day the master says, "You're ready, okay? Let me show you something." So they go up to the mountains and they overlook the very peak of the mountain, looking down, say, "Isn't that a beautiful view?" Say, yeah. This is my version of it. Okay, actually, what happened, and then the master say, "Are you ready?" I say, "Okay, take a step." And she walked into space. And guess what? Flew like an eagle. Is that how you like it to end? What do you think? Policewoman. She became an eagle? Fly like an eagle. Huh? What do you think? She fell down and died. But before she died, she became enlightened. That's authentic training, Wei Yang. Anyone? Any takers? Look at that. Everyone say, "Can I go to the Pure Land first?" Just in case. If you're scared, go to the Pure Land. Amitabha Buddha will not ask you to do that. But here, we might push you a little bit. No, see, it's not for everyone. She became enlightened, but she died as well. And that's what in the Chan world we said, cultivating Chan is like climbing up a 100-foot pole. You know how tall 100 foot is? This is 20 feet, 23 feet. The ceiling is 23 feet, the white wall. Okay? So it's 4 times higher than that. So you climb up this 100-foot pole, okay? You get up there, what do? You walk into space. That's Chan training. So at that moment, okay, at that very moment, what is spoken to you? Take a step. Just take a step. And if you hear it and you take a step, you become enlightened at that very moment, guaranteed. But you also die as well. And what's the point? Okay, two. The women are up to something.
It sounds like there's a two guaranteed. It's enlightenment and death at the same time. 2 for 1 or something.
Okay, 7. 7 is complaining too.
Master, if she became enlightened, why did she die?
Enlightenment doesn't mean you don't die, hey dude.
You don't?
The enlightened people like Buddha still died. But they die happy. You live and you're miserable. Okay? Any other questions? Any other complaint? Objections? Yes, too.
So, Master, you're not going to...
Take a step.
I can't even say it.
Take a step. Do you believe me? Take a step. But in today's age, you probably won't hear my voice with an AI-generated voice. Sounded like me, but it's not me. Yes, JC.
집착을 내려놓고 불성을 이루면 뭐가 좋나요?
If we get rid of our attachment and then we become Buddha, then we become the Buddha way, then what's good for us?
You live forever. You die, but you become a Buddha and live forever. I promise. Everyone likes it, huh? Yeah? He's still not satisfied. He's still not convinced. He struggled with the concept, I have to die before I become happy. Forever.
집착을 내려놓고 주위에 아무도 없다면 그게 더 불행한 거 아닌가요?
If I drop everything and there's nobody around me, then I think that's very unhappy.
Well, so what do you want? You want to become Buddha? Or you want to be miserable? Luckily for you, okay, you're not as rich as that woman in the Chan story. So there are the ways that you can see a Buddha nature at the very moment it's spoken. It refers to at the appropriate time, you be asked to do something. In a Chan school, we like to show you the example of the climbing up a 10-foot pole to tell you how difficult it is. And we reach the top, and you're so satisfied with yourself, so proud of yourself. Like this girl said, wow, oh my God, I made it finally. Okay, and then you think you got it. Okay, your accomplishment is so impressive. Then we tell you, drop the attachment, drop that accomplishment. That's when you see a Buddha nature. That's what it means. Sometimes it's true. For some people, we actually push you off the cliff. Because we don't like you anyway, so die! I'm doing you a favor. Just die! You learning the middle way, okay? So some people, we really want them to die, okay? Some others, we like better, we want to keep them around. So the instructions are different. Sounds better for you losers. And chicken, quack, 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 quack. Does it help? Yes, 3.
Thank you, Master. So once we attain 4-stage Arha, it is possible to lose our level just like that, right? We could climb 10-foot poles and next day could drop to level 0 or...
Not necessarily. You could, but there's no reason why it should happen to you. Another scenario would be you leap off, you jump, you leap off the cliff, but then you fly like an eagle. Fly like an eagle. Because you have spiritual powers. There's many scenarios. Don't worry. Or you die, and then we send you to the Pure Land. Okay? There's so many good endings. Have no fear. But if we need you, we need to keep you around. Then a different instruction, don't die. Because if after 10 years of training her and I have to push her off the cliff, seems like such a waste of time. So if you're useful to me, I won't want you to die. Does it make sense? That's the middle way. Because some people I don't like, I would push them off the cliff. Just disappear, man. But there's some others where I really like. They're still around. Yanxia is at the moment of speaking, meaning when you're given that instruction, okay? You have 100% faith and you do it. You don't hesitate. For example, someone puts a gun to your head and you say, I'm going to kill you. Okay, and you say, can I have a last cigarette? He says, no. Can I call Master Yung Hua? And he said, who's he? I want to say goodbye to him. And he said, okay, go ahead, fine. Okay. But smoking is no good for you, so can call him. So you call Master Yung Hua, and Yung Hua says, Master, he's going to really kill me. And I said, no problem. Recite the Buddha's name. And you say what? And bang, he kills you. Because you didn't do what I asked you to do. If you recite the Buddha's name, it might, something else might happen. You see that? So the Yan Xia means the instructions. It's not just anything. At that moment, are you willing to follow the instructions or not? And it boils down to all the time leading to that moment, the Yan Xia moment, that moment of speaking, you develop what? What are you developing? Quickly, I'm running out of time. When it's 8:50, I'm going to stop.
Faith.
And it's no more secrets for you. Yes, too. Quickly.
Faith.
Absolutely. All that builds up to that very last moment. Are you willing to step off the cliff? Jump off the cliff? Step off the 100-foot pole? Are you willing to do what you're told? At that moment, that's the only time that it counts. Your faith counts. Right now, it's easy. I like you, Master. I believe in you, Master. Yeah, and that's fine. Keep climbing. Keep climbing. You believe me? Keep climbing. Huh? So don't think you can fool us. You say, oh, Master, I believe in you. Oh, hallelujah. Okay, you're the best. You're right. Keep climbing. Isn't that cool? What he's talking about is so beautiful. Always be mindful and cultivate this vow, power, dharma. Meaning it says, make sure you vow these 4 great vows here. Vow to save living beings. Vow to cut off your afflictions. Okay? Vow meaning cut off your attachments. Vow to study. Okay, forever. Vow to become a Buddha. If you do that, your teacher will take care of you. That's what he's saying. Does it help? Okay, thank you everyone.